Sorry for
It's
the
been a
Russian
while.
intro.
No, all good, all good. You know that I like it.
I'm not saying anything bad about you.
I usually take inspiration from is cinema. I love cinema. I watch usually one movie per day.
Vibe is important for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. The creative director will have this amount of things that needs to be aware.
Some experience in visuals, right?
I feel so.
Guy will be a very high professional,
Yeah.
but vibe not good. What you will do?
So explore the world. That's the best thing that I can tell to your students, honestly speaking, right? Explore it.
Друзья, первый раз я провожу интервью на английском языке. Я очень волнуюсь, переживаю за свой английский. Извините за него, мы постараемся сделать перевод, чтобы это все было понятно, чтобы это понятно все выглядело. Рядом со мной Педро, это креативный директор, который работал в Европе и работает сейчас в Дубае. Я с ним очень много провел времени на съемочной площадке, это мой друг. И сейчас я спрошу у него несколько вопросов по поводу профессии креативного директора. Надеюсь, будет интересно. Hi, Pedro.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sorry for the Russian intro.
No, all good, all good. You know that I like it.
I'm not saying anything bad about you.
Yeah.
So,
all good.
Pedro, thank you for coming.
No, thanks for the invite, of course.
I'm sorry for my English, for my pronunciation, but we communicated in on the set.
Yeah.
And
we always
I
communicated. We've always got good results, so the communication was never an issue, man. So all good.
So Pedro is my friend and amazing creative director.
Thank you so much.
Right?
Yeah.
He has a huge experience working with large companies and fashion brand, and I'm proud to have worked in his team in Dubai, and I have only positive emotion.
Same. Was a good start with us. Definitely, we did a lot of projects for different brands. It's a pity that we never had a chance to do, high fashion or luxury in that case, because that was always my background. But we had really good results, and above everything was like the good vibe on set, man. Because it's always something quite important for me. If you
vibe is important for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because it's like, with music or playing or making jokes. Like, of course, I'm there to work and I'm quite serious about it. I want good results at the end, but there needs to be a really good environment with everyone there, because it's it helps the entire process. And you've been with us like in campaigns of 6, 7, 8 hours, sometimes even more, and needs to be always a bit of a certain environment for people to at least enjoy what they are doing. Because let's face it, not every single project is a nice one, right?
Yeah, so, it's a close connection.
Yeah. There are projects, of course, that you're gonna love more. They are gonna be super interesting, extremely good results. But at the end of the day, it's also budgets, right? So depending on the budgets that you have, like, you're going to have different results, and of course different teams and different equipment models, etc. So yeah, but with what we got from the times we work, at least we had a good environment. Let's put it like that.
Thank you. Can you talk about your experience in the Europe and Middle East, in Dubai?
So it was definitely a big change in terms of audience, or to who you are answering, because let's face it, here in Dubai is a different culture to start with. Especially if you work with retail, you are selling to a wide range of cultures in this case, from Emirati, from locals, from Indian, from Filipino, from Europeans, from different countries, Pakistani, etc. So you kind of need to study a tiny bit the market that you are in, especially when you move from, in this case, Europe, like us, Like, yes, I worked for almost 14 years in luxury in different countries in Europe, and with different companies. And the mindset, of course, when it comes to luxury there is totally different from what it is here in the Middle East. Of course, here, like, even when both of us worked together, we were working with retails for fast fashion. And again, it's another process that you need to change there, because it's like fast production. You know, when it comes to luxury, it's quality over quantity in a way. And of course, with fast fashion, sometimes is quantity over quality. That's usually the big issue that I have sometimes. Not gonna lie. Here, I never had the chance to work with luxury, as for now. A couple of projects here and there, but nothing massive, more of creative direction in this case. But the majority was definitely with fast fashion. It was also a change for me, a new challenge, because I worked in luxury for many years. And at the end, I just wanted I wanted another experience, you know, and definitely moving to Dubai was like a new experience. It's not starting everything from ground zero, because you are still bringing a lot of the luxury mindset to fast fashion, but you definitely still want to elevate that, you know. So yeah, that's basically the entire process coming here to the Middle East. In Europe, was different. Again, different mindset, different client. For instance, the last company that I worked was in Germany. Client in Germany different from the client that I used to work in London, for instance. Different from client in Hungary. Also different client from Portugal, where I'm originally from. So you kind of need to do the investigation of the market that you are in, right? And you need to understand your client. You need to understand age also, to different types of age that you're selling. Like, for instance, the recent video that I sent you was something to bring maybe this Gen Z generation, you know, like to fast fashion also, you know, because it's necessary here. And the Gen Z that you have here in the Middle East, or GCC in this case, it's totally different from the one in Europe, you know, so you kind of need to work around stuff. You need to definitely do your homework in that case. Don't get me wrong, I was put here when I moved there, I didn't know much about the market here. Something that was on my side is that I was already aware a lot of the Middle Eastern culture, because I'm interested in it, you know, like regarding religion, regarding culture, regarding...
Can you give some example?
It's more in terms of understanding the culture itself, in the sense of, you know, religion, first of all, because it's something that's...
You can show some part of the body. Right?
Yeah, when it comes also, of course, Dubai is a bit more open to these things, but if you go outside Dubai, even if you go to Abu Dhabi, there is another way already to be here, you know, like there are situations like... I can give you an example. Some years ago, when my sister came here the first time, 2001. So Dubai was still developing, you know. So the rules there at the time were changing. Yeah. You know, you need to cover your shoulders. You need to do this. You know, of course, you don't need to wear a hijab. It's not that. But there are certain places that, yes, of course, you're gonna enter a mosque. You need to be dressed properly, or modest in this case. You need to cover your shoulders. If you are with shorts, is usually a problem. And then it's also in terms of, you know, what is Emirati culture. You know, like. I don't think that everyone has the chance sometimes to go deep into the culture here. And I can tell you from experience, because I do have Emirati friends, it's extremely beautiful. The fact of people opening the doors of their house to show their, you know, food, like a simple conversation at the table of talking about other cultures, or even politics, or this or that, you know, or even religion. And you know that I'm revert Muslim, so I was from Christian families and eventually reverted to Islam some years ago. And you kind of start to know what you should do, or how you should dress, or how you should be in a social position. For instance, the situation right now that I'm crossing my legs, there is something in the Middle East, for instance, that you shouldn't show the bottom of your feet, because it's dirty, you know. So there are certain small things that you learn with people, like, you know, like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. But of course, you cannot be super anal about things, in the sense of you're gonna follow every single rule. At the end of the day, you're Russian, I'm Portuguese, you know, like we have our own culture. It's just that you need to adapt and be respectful for other cultures. The same for me and you. Yes, we're European, but there are differences culturally speaking. So you are still going to try to be polite with people. You're still going to try to understand their side. You're still going to, you know, oh, let's go and try Russian food, for instance. I don't think I ever had the chance, you know. So for me, I'm also a person that, and also due to the profession, you need to be open to things. You need to understand people. I think is one of the major things that you need to know about their culture. You need to understand how their brain thinks. Not necessarily you're going to follow up every single rule that they have in their life, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all think in a certain way. But the more you know, the more information that you have. It was like the same with me, with you on set, that sometimes I would say spasibo or da or niet, things like this, you know. So the simple fact that you are giving a damn about someone helps with this environment also that we were speaking before, of having a good environment on set. Because it brings people together, you know. And in a situation that you're gonna be 4, 5, 6 days with someone in a campaign, sometimes you need to have that conversation. Of course, there are gonna be, you know, you're gonna bump heads with someone sometimes, and we had that before with clients also. But at the same time, it's like the more you understand the person and the more you know about their culture, kind of helps that the other person feels comfortable with you, you know. So it's homework, it's always homework. And if you ask me, like, I know that you have one of this in your questions that you mentioned before, like inspiration, you know. It's not only about mood boards and Pinterest and this and that. It's more than that, you know. Like, is knowing about where you are, to who you are shooting, you know, to the client, country, if it's a fashion campaign, if it's you know, a music video or this or that, you know. So you kind of need to adapt to where you are. And I find that really beautiful, because between humans, it just brings us together. There are differences. We are all different, you know, like from skin tone, from religion, mindset, whatever. If I do a cut in my skin and on yours, what color is the blood? Red, right? The same thing for everyone. So no one is superior, no one is inferior. It's just a matter of communication with people. And I think as a creative director, or even as an art director, you need to understand people more than anything else, you know, because it will...
More than anyone in the team, yeah?
Yes.
Because it's your mindset.
Is your mindset, you know. I know that, for instance, you're not going to fully understand what is in my brain, and I'm not going to fully understand what is in your brain. We're humans at the end of the day. But the more you have this connection, or knowing a tiny bit of your culture or my culture, you know, it kind of helps with the process. Because it's not only checking what people are doing on set, it's also managing the entire set, you know. Of course you have producers, of course you have this, of course you have that. You have a lot of people in the campaign, or in a campaign, for instance. But at the same time, you are there, it's like, it's your concept, it's your idea, you want things to go well. So the environment needs to be perfect, you know. So it's a bit of psychology also on set, you know, that how you speak with people, how, and of course, there are times that we're like, I'm done with this, you know, take your money, I don't want, I don't know if that ever happened to you, that you left a shooting, you know, but sometimes that's what you feel. Of course, we need to be professional at the end of the day.
If someone come to your team, this guy will be a very high professional,
yeah,
but vibe not good. What you will do?
But what?
Vibe on the set. You will work together.
It happened.
Or you will try to.
It happened. You know, I will try to adapt to the person also, and how they work and how they think. You know, I'm not expecting that everyone follows up everything that I do, because again, we're all human. We're all different there. But as a team, you need to be professional. You need to work. Everyone has. We have a saying in Portugal, and sorry the expression, which is "cada macaco no seu galho," which means each monkey in each branch. In a hierarchy position, or not even hierarchy, in a group, everyone has their own work, you know. Like you have the videographer, you have the creative director, art director, you have the stylist, you have this, you have that. I think that problems happen on set when people try to overcome or overstep certain boundaries, you know.
change
You can give
position.
opinions, but be professional about it. You know, if the client is there, like I call you on the side, hey Vadim, this, and this, what do you think? Yeah, maybe we can try. And that's how we always communicated also, you know. There needs to be a certain level of professionalism in a way trying to put egos on the side, because let's face it, we're all creatives at the end, man. Like videographer, photographer, stylist, creative director, art director, DP, whatever. We're all creatives, man. Like we love what we do. We're passionate about it. That's one of the things that I love about our field. We're passionate about our ideas, you know. We want to show the world a tiny bit of us through our vision in a campaign, which sometimes the world's not gonna understand, but it's our work there, you know. So it's quite. That's why I stay in this industry, because I love it. I love what I do, you know, and it's going to be like 15, 16 years I have been in the industry, and I don't change it for anything else, honestly, because I love what I do. It's headaches every single day, you know that.
Now, can you explain who is a creative director?
Creative director is, I'm gonna say this like, because I work with retail and corporate, so the creative director is the guy that the big bosses pay for them to come up with the ideas, you know, like, because again, it's the same situation that I was mentioning before. You have different structures in hierarchies, or in this case in a company, you know, or on a retail or corporate. Director of a company is maybe not the person that has the most creative aspect when it comes to producing a campaign, you know. Not necessarily that it doesn't have, let's be honest, but it's more numbers at the end of the day also. So they do have a team that comes up with ideas. A creative director or art director always come up with this. It helps on the process, because it's having an idea, presenting to the client approving, and from there you literally have a different number of people in teams that you know that you are there to execute, you know, because I feel that the creative director not necessarily needs to execute something. They can if they have the experience to. I know that, for instance, when it comes to video, you know your things about video. You are an excellent videographer. But I feel that you would do also an amazing role as a creative director, because you have your own ideas. It's just that it's a different position, you know? It's literally a hierarchy system of coming with the idea and then having someone executing it. But that doesn't mean that a photographer or a videographer cannot do the work of a creative director. It just depends on where you are working, if you're a freelancer or not. I think that especially as a freelancer, you need to be a creative director also. You need to be an art director. Sometimes you need to be a stylist even. I had this in the past. I worked with, for instance, independent brands in London that I was doing creative direction for them, I was styling for them, and I did also photography for them at the time. It depends on where you are or the stage of life. You know, and you know also that, me and you know that when you are starting something, you're going to have to put more work in it, right? You cannot go immediately to a process that you are there like, oh yeah, I have an idea, let's do this, and this, and then you have an entire team doing that for you. When you start in the industry, let's face it, you are helping a friend that are starting a brand, you're coming up with ideas or concepts for them, you also shoot, you also do the video, also do the styling. You know, it's a tiny bit of everything. Of course, then with age and different experience, you go into different paths, you know. Yes, I started as a photographer at the time. So I studied visual arts in university, photography especially, but we also had video, cinema classes.
Asking of my question without my question.
Yeah, basically. When I start talking, man, you know. So yeah, I studied visual arts. I studied architecture also.
Architecture?
Yeah, I also have a degree in architecture, and then I did a master in fine arts. Just to clarify that I don't feel that you need the university diploma or a degree to be whatever you want to be in life. You know, it's maybe tools that you get that actually help you with that, you know, and having, and I I think that's the thing with creative directors. The fact that you have studies in a lot of things helps you in different process, because your head, for instance, me have studied architecture helps me a lot with art direction. For instance, let's say on creating a set, you know, doing the art direction, like even here for us, you know, like the type of sofas, the plants, this or that, it helps. Because, you know, like working in the company that I work for, we don't do only fashion. We also do, for instance, home, you know, like we do home decor. So it kind of also helped me in that process, that I know a tiny bit of everything.
You're like a set designer.
Yeah. You know, like we do have people in the team that actually do the set design. We have carpenters in the team also, but understanding the visuals before having something, before having a product helps you a lot. You know, that's sometimes the big difference between us and the clients, is that you are trying to sell fish to the client without the client knowing what fish is.
And what you step to change from photography to creative?
Is the direction where you go, man, you know, and also the people that you meet. Yes, there are university courses and masters in creative direction. Central St. Martin's in London, if I'm not mistaken, they have this. Kingston University also, but not necessarily that you need to do that. For me,
your way.
My way was literally a matter of years of experience, you know, was a matter of doing campaigns, photography campaigns, meeting people. You know, social media is a really good thing that people come to me. I remember the first brand that I did creative direction in London was Leon Bara. It was a small independent brand, super minimalistic. So the owner of the brand at the time was checking my Instagram. He contacted me, man, I love your vision. I love how you are seeing things, you know, social. And I can tell you, Instagram for me was never a way to show my professional work, was my visual diary at the time, you know. I was going around with a point and shoot camera all the time. I was taking photos of this, of that. And that was my Instagram at the time. In London, for instance, architecture is a beautiful thing, you know, like when it comes to brutalist architecture, I love brutalist architecture.
So you work like a freelancer with this first brand?
At the time, yeah.
And they call you?
They contacted me like, I like your vision. I like what you are posting on Instagram. Can you come and
like
do some work for me?
Director,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or like photography and?
At the time was creative direction. Like they had a photographer, they had this, they had that. But they were like, I like your vision. I like how you see the world. You know, that's it. I like how you see the world.
And I want to ask you, now your Instagram is like a lifestyle photos of the...
It continues to be a visual diary, I feel.
Because you don't post in anything from your work, no?
No, because it's also sometimes, I do post in stories. I avoid to tag the brands or show something on the days of the shooting that can be an issue, because this can be a problem, you know, like imagine that you are doing a campaign, you tag the brand, you are already showing a new collection and people are already seeing the new collection, you know, like, so sometimes you need to kind of avoid what you are doing. And then later when they post in social, when they launch the brand or the campaign or whatever, yes, then you can show what you did. Because it's a matter, a lot of people don't do this, and sometimes it's good to have, which is having a contract that you cannot take photos, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, etc. I think at the time, even with you, I told you, man, post BTS.
I posted after a year.
Post BTS, but never show what we're actually doing, because some brands are a bit more picky than others. Others, they prefer to show, even if it's like new outfits or new campaigns or new collections, because it's a way to kind of push more people, you know. This, of course, also depends with who they are working, if your Instagram has a lot of followers or not, you know. So it does help with the process sometimes, especially if it's like a smaller brand that they are trying to push more people to see it. Sometimes happen. Other times is more of a secrecy around it, you know, like, no, we're still going to do marketing around it. We're still going to put, especially here in Dubai, you know, like we're going to still do it in billboards, this and that. I don't know if you remember, for instance, when I was shooting in the middle of the desert recently for a Ramadan campaign, you know.
Lots of
you know.
A lot of people. in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
design.
yeah. But we're not necessarily showing this. And at the end, we had a massive marketing campaign around it in Dubai. It was for Ramadan, which is a big thing here in Dubai, you know. So we had billboards in Sheikh Zayed. We have digital boards in other places, like, you know. So we're launching that set. So we need to have a certain secrecy around it, you know. So when it's something smaller, yes, we can still post. We can still show the environment of where we're shooting, you know, the music that we're listening to, the team, etc., etc. Also, another thing that I feel is quite important when you're talking with people and you post things on social media. I know that sometimes you don't have the Instagrams of people, or sometimes you don't even have the Instagram of people, but tag everyone on the team, man, because it does help to people that they are freelancing and they, you know, other people from my Instagram see, oh, this person, who is this person, what they are doing, etc., etc. Are they videographers? Are they photographers, stylists, etc., producers even, you know? It helps them also to get more clients. So having all their names in is really, really important. I think that, you know,
So your Instagram now is working on your personal brand.
it's more my personal things, man. Like I do post things during some BTS during campaigns, but it's literally my my visual, you know, a place that I'm investing a lot right now regarding work that I think it kind of changed. Before Instagram, yes, was a location for people to show their work, you know, photographers, videographers, stylists, art related, you know. LinkedIn now is getting more and more better when it comes to showing your own work, you know, because LinkedIn you have more people in your field. You can be quite specific, you know. Instagram, you have people from everywhere.
You're talking about LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, yeah.
So you have a LinkedIn account?
I have a LinkedIn account, yeah, Pedro de Passos, same as my name, but it's a good way to show your work nowadays.
And you post your work on LinkedIn?
I post there the campaigns that we do. Even if we're doing tests, for instance, now with AI, etc., posting things there, because I think LinkedIn is more. It goes straight to the point, to the people that you want to show nowadays. You know,
It's professional social network.
Instagram nowadays, let's face it, I have my mom commenting on my stuff, you know. So, or family members or this or that, which is not an issue at all, you know, but there should always be that difference between what is your professional life and your personal life, you know. And even when it comes to my personal life, I don't post much about my personal life itself, you know, like yes, I do have a partner, etc., but I don't post a lot. I don't even have like a more personal Instagram for just family and close friends. I don't. Like there are certain things that literally needs to be out of social media in that case. But yeah, LinkedIn is a really good place right now to be pushing more and more in your work. And more I see people that I used to follow and I still follow on Instagram, that they move their entire work, especially when it comes to fashion photographers, etc., that they are starting to push more on LinkedIn, because they have more people like from corporate or big groups there, you know, like I know that, for instance, Balenciaga is a brand that's constantly posting things on LinkedIn, for instance. They do the lives from their shows on LinkedIn. I see a lot of them there, you know. So there are other brands that they also do that, you know, because they are it's between the professional aspect and the artistic aspect, you know. So I think Instagram can be a place definitely to push more on the artistic side of things, but LinkedIn, you still need to have that professional side, you know. You still need to show your work to corporate, if you work for corporate, of course. If you work for retail, big groups, you know. And when you're a freelancer, it's a bit different, but you can also be more direct, and you can follow up on, or follow even people that they, you know, it's more indicated to your type of work, you know. So you can select more who you want to see your work.
And especially if you want to develop as a creative director, you need to post something in LinkedIn?
It does help, because there are other professionals there also. They are seeing your work at the end of the day, even if they don't comment, even if they just do a thumbs up, But it's going to direct them to their page. You're going to see their work also. Not everyone posts, of course, but especially when it comes to corporate or big groups, yes, eventually creative directors will, this is the new campaign, let's say, for instance, UNAS here in Dubai. The creative director will post like this is our new campaign, spring summer or autumn winter or whatever other campaign, So it's still your portfolio there also, because you are working in that group, you are working in that brand, So you are still gonna show that, and it's the same with me, Like I work with Landmark here in Dubai, and again they have different brands. They have Centerpoint, you worked before, Home Center, Homebox, others, Emacs, etc., etc. So they have a lot of things. I'm more niche in terms of which brands I select to post, because I'm also more passionate about something which is, in this case, fashion, So I do like homeware also a lot, because I think studied architecture, so I kind of, I'm aware of these things, and I do enjoy home decor. But fashion will always be my baby, honestly speaking, man, because that's been there for years. And the fact that I lived in different countries and see different types of fashion or styles, it kind of opens your brain, And even if I'm now working in fast fashion, I don't feel that makes me like, I'm not working in luxury anymore. Doesn't matter. It's still fashion. You are still doing what you like, Mm-hmm. Maybe in fast fashion or corporate, there are more rules to it, which sometimes kind of breaks your creative process in terms of you need to follow up certain things more with the big bosses in this case. But at the same time, it's still something that I love to do. It's a challenge still. At the end, you still need to sell your fish. You still need to say, this is the best fish that we have. Just came out of the water. It's still salt water, etc., etc. So, sorry, in Portugal we have a lot of these things, so we kind of play a lot with these things. But yeah, that's how I still love the profession.
Let's come back to your first project as a creative director.
Mm-hmm.
And you did it, this
Mm-hmm.
project.
Yeah.
And what you think about this when you make decision to start work as creative director, because you worked as a photographer?
I think I was kind of put in the position, and not necessarily that I was looking for it, because I was quite young at the time. Like at the time, I think I was like 21, 22 years old when this process started. And at the time, I was aware that the creative director position was there, but not that I didn't study it, Mm-hmm. So you were kind of still, adapting what is this new position, what are the possibilities in this new position? Where can you go with it? Because let's face it, when you started working photography, you're focusing in photography. When you're starting video, you're focusing on video. You are sometimes more technical than necessarily a guy that is thinking about the creative process before having an actual product, before actually having a final shot with this type of styling, this type of framing, this type of this type of that, even design at the end for campaigns, So the creative director will have this amount of things that needs to be aware to eventually get to a point that you're like, yes, we need to do this, and this, to the point that you see a billboard, for instance, here in Sheikh Zayed Road with everything. Yes, I'm not going to do the design of that billboard. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. But my idea or concept is there. My visual is there. And that makes extremely happy.
It's excited you on this?
Yeah, it does. It's always. Of course, there are some campaigns more than others. Like I can tell you that some years ago, me and another, he's currently my manager. You met him before, which is Pedro de Passos. We worked in Farfetch, and we did not a campaign. We did the entire website at the time for Christopher Kane. Mm-hmm. So there was a department in Farfetch called Black and White at the time that instead of shooting for the concept stores or for the boutiques, we would shoot directly for the brand, and then the images would be used in the brand's website. And one of the brands that we started with was Christopher Kane. Was months and months and months of preparation, talking directly with the brand, because let's face it, was literally putting the entire new collection on a website for the e-com, for the creative campaign, etc., etc. So everything had to be aligned, like the type of lighting, the type of model, the positions of the models, etc., etc., etc. So it was months before we actually went into the production itself, because Christopher Kane was a massive brand at the time, so they had a lot of representatives. They were going to Portugal at the time, like the studios from Farfetch, one of them was in Portugal. So they were coming to Portugal, they were talking with us, they were preparing everything with us, and then just after that, like green light on everything, yes, we can start working on everything, like the models were coming, the models were staying with us at the time in Porto, and it was a long process, and that has to be one of the longest and most beautiful, final outcomes that we have, because it was also the pre-production in it. It's like, yes, you can have a pre-production of 1 week depending on the campaign, but sometimes, think about a movie. The pre-production is gonna be massive, man. I here in Dubai, I spoke to a person that worked in the movies Dune, and they were shot here in part of it was shot here in Abu Dhabi, in Liwa region, and they stayed months and months and months, in weeks and months also in the desert, and the pre-production was massive.
A lot of storyboards
like scripts, everything, so it really depends on the work. Again, you're gonna have campaigns that in 1 week you come up with the idea and the next week you are shooting, like we did before. There are other works that they're gonna be months of preparation. It really depends. And I remember with Leo Barat, and the owner is called Omar Afridi. He now has the brand that's like it's called Omar Afridi also, and it was interesting because it was like, we're gonna have a new campaign, we're gonna have a new collection. It was autumn winter at the time. Okay, we have a team of creatives. What we're gonna talk about, and the brand was quite specialized in Japanese design, quite minimalistic, etc.
Fashion.
Fashion. And at the time was like, we could go for something like, for instance, Yakuza, which is Japanese mafia, and we talk about like, because we had a colleague of ours that is Japanese. He actually now is one of the creative directors of the brand Omar Afridi. I still continue to follow their work online on Instagram, and I talk with them from time to time. I always like to maintain that contact with people that kind of brought me to a new world, that kind of helped me move on in my creative process throughout life, and at the time we were talking, we could do this, we could do that, and we spoke about the Yakuza, that maybe it was a bit, like we shouldn't talk about that specifically. But the idea that we thought, of course, we're not going to go straight to mafia in this case, but we're going to talk about something that we saw from movies back in the day, from the 80s, from 90s, like the lapels of the shirts were quite big. So we used that on the collection. Like the person that was designing the clothes was going for that, the type of cuts, clean cuts, like the process. I remember one jacket, it was one of my favorite jackets, that was a jacket that on the inside, it has like suspenders, and you were with the jacket and you could have put the suspenders here and the jacket would fall off to your back. So this was something that we were taking from movies that we seen, because the cool thing about that brand at the time, and Omar created an amazing environment in that team, because the studio was in his own house. So he had a massive library with books. We were talking about cinema, we were talking about art, we were talking about this and that. So the creative process there was beautiful, because you were getting a tiny bit of everything, You can get inspiration from everything, let's face it, from your own personal life. Not necessarily that you need to go to Pinterest and create mood boards every single time, which, a lot of clients that we work in the past, that's what they do. Mood boards on Pinterest. And I'm not saying that it's not a bad tool because it helps you see other things. It's just that you shouldn't be doing copies of other people, you know? So you're going to take a tiny bit of I want to call it inspiration. You're going to take a tiny bit of inspiration here. You're going to have a tiny bit of inspiration there. Like, for instance, when it comes to video, something that I usually take inspiration from is cinema. I love cinema. I watch usually one movie per day. You know, even when I'm at home and I'm cooking, I put a movie playing or a series or this or that. And because the TV is next to the kitchen, I'm literally like seeing this, you know, like certain camera movements or sound or this or that, and helps you with your process also, you know, more from a technical point of view, of course, but at the same time, when it comes to a concept, you're going to go into other things, you know, you're going to get inspiration from a painting. You're going to get inspiration from your daily life, from, I don't know, maybe the lady that sells you the fruits in the morning, things like this, you know, because she has this, she has that, you know. I saw recently a book from, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Her last name is Yumna. Their first name is Yumna. Is a photographer that I've been following for a really long time, an artist that I've been following for a really long time since I was in London. And she recently had a book that was just focused on tattoo. Tattoo, not the tattoos that we see in our days, because her grandma, she's, if I'm not mistaken, half Egyptian, half Yemeni. I can be wrong. I don't remember. But there are certain countries in Middle East that older women back in the day, they used to do tattoos on their face. So she remembers traditional tattoos, usually like small dots. I think in Russia you also have some similar things. If I don't remember. I don't remember. But it was like specific dots that you have like on the face, on the hands, etc. And she did the book just only about that because it reminds her from her grandma. So she went deep into just that, of traveling around different Arab countries or North African countries, and she was just photographing older people in villages with this. And it's extremely beautiful that you pick up one specific thing and then you go deep into it, you know. Of course, you cannot always do this, and let's be realistic about things. One thing is doing a book around a specific subject that you know that's going to take time, you know. Like I have a friend of mine, Nick Pedro. It's a Australian photographer that works in Paris that is launching right now a book, and basically it took him years for the book to come out, you know, because he was like into a process to create the book, you know, going to artistic residencies, etc., etc. For us, as a more commercial aspect, you don't have the luxury of having the time to invest in something that deep, you know. Sometimes you have 1 week to come up with an idea for a client. That's it. But I do enjoy the process that you can go deep into things, man, honestly. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen often, because also in the industry that we work, it's fast-paced industry, is one after the other. We're finishing one, you're delivering one, right after you need to start working. You don't have time to breathe sometimes. But when you have the chance to go into something deeper, honestly, man, it's going to make you extremely happy. To the point that you make exhibitions, that you do this, that you do that, you know, like, because it's your vision there. You work so hard for it, and now you are showing to the world, you know. It's the same process as a commercial work. You're still showing a part of you to the world, but it doesn't have the same, you know, like passion to it, because you have something there which is timelines, and you need to deliver everything on time, you know, like, and we have this before. Like, hey, Vadim, when do you think that you can send us this or that? You know, like, I think that it depends on the work that you are in, you know. It depends on the time that you have for things.
And if we will talk about the commercial project that we come to deep understanding this project, what tools you will recommend maybe
In terms of the pre-production of the creative process?
Yeah. Pinterest, Instagram.
Yes, that's the one that you literally open your everything that is web in this case or digital. Yes, you open your computer, you can get inspiration from everything. But go out, listen to music, go to the cinema, theater, ballet, whatever, like opera. It doesn't matter. Whatever makes your motor going, whatever makes you happy about the process or something that...
You need to have some experience in visuals, right?
I feel so. The more you absorb, the more books you see, the more, artists that you follow, even on Instagram, the more visual you are as a person, the more, especially when it comes to a videographer, the more cinema you watch, the more information you have. Not only from a technical aspect, it depends where you're working for.
Or it's again, about local brands.
Let's think about a freelancer in this case. Okay, let's put it there. A freelancer will need to adapt to a lot of different brands. Again, homework. You need to study the brand. You cannot maintain. I don't think a creative director can keep the same vision always. Because let's face it, I love. Like I was mentioning, Rick Owens. I cannot bring Rick Owens to Centerpoint. He's a family. He's a family brand.
Talk about this.
I cannot go into a dark fashion kind of thing to family brand. Of course not. You need to adapt, and this comes to what you want in life. Do you want to always stay in the same lane, or do you want to go to different lanes and explore different things? Because as creatives, we all should try different things. Like when you are starting, like for instance, the vision that you have now is not the same vision that you had 5 or 6 years ago, because you try different things, you absorb this, you absorb that, and eventually you literally found things that you like more than others. But at the same time, even if you are working for a really big brand, let's say that you are the creative director of Balenciaga. Creative director of Balenciaga can at the end leave Balenciaga and go to Gucci, for instance. So you need to kind of adapt to the Gucci mindset. Let's face it, Gucci is a brand is a brand that's been there for years. So they do have their categorization of what we are as a brand. So you need to adapt to that. Of course, these brands also are open to new ideas, and that's why they stay in the market for a really long time. But you need to adapt. Adaptation is the best thing ever. You as a human need to adapt also, right? To different situations in your life. From people to the place where you're living, We cannot be the same mindset that we have in Europe, for instance, in China or in Japan or this or that. There are different norms. There are different cultural things there. So you kind of need to adapt to that, right? When it comes to your work, exactly the same thing. You need to adapt to who you're working for. And
in your vision, it's important.
It is.
Because maybe some brands looking for this vision.
Yes, of course. And this is something that you always told me, like that sometimes you should work more to other brands here than not necessarily for the retail that I'm working right now. Because I have a specific vision on things, yes. But I also need to be realistic about things sometimes, Like I'm telling you, I do enjoy more Japanese design. Maybe here in the Middle East or in Dubai specifically, it's not going to work out, So you develop. If something else shows up in the future for it specifically, go for it, Your vision is still there. Whatever it's here and here that you love, it's going to still be there. And one day you're going to have the chance. Because let's face it, when you have a client, you're answering to the client, right? You as a freelancer also, you are answering to the client. You kind of cannot just put on the table, this is my vision, I want a gothic look for Centerpoint. No, you cannot do that, To the people at home that don't know what Centerpoint is like a big retail in the Middle East that has like more family-driven things. It has different brands inside of it and goes from of course, cheaper garments to really expensive garments. Now they started opening more the market that they have, and now they start having also luxury inside the group. So think about a bit like Amazon that has a tiny bit of everything. And at the end of the day, of course, it's still a brand that's more driven to families, big families also. So adaptation, that's it. Eventually something will come up that's going to be just your vision, It's just going to be your idea, because you're going to have a client that is like, I trust you, do what you need to do. And that's usually the best feeling out of it, man. Because you're bringing, like you're saying, your vision to the world. This is me. This is part of me. It doesn't matter if you're pressing a button as a photographer, if you're pressing a button as a videographer, you're bringing something in the world, because it's a tiny bit part of you. The moment that you press is a tiny bit of you that's there, in that moment. And you ask me, for instance, regarding Instagram, if it's like my work or my vision, etc. Why those specific images that you see sometimes on my Instagram it's moments in my life. It's not necessarily that I'm doing a project for it, even a personal project. Is that I know that moment is going to be in my brain, stuck in my brain forever, because it was like, I was with this person, that person, I was doing this, I was doing that, So it's a tiny bit of knowing more the world and not necessarily a bidimensional image where you were at the moment. It's everything that is behind the camera. You and everyone else that was behind the camera, Yes, you have a documentation, and that's how I see photography, by the way, is a documentation of something. And this comes from also studied fine arts, like you have different types of ways to learn photography or video, more commercial one or a more artsy one, And my background or university was fine arts. So my brain's gonna always have this more artsy vision on things. Of course, if I work for corporate and retail, that artistic vision kind of, fades away sometimes. Because let's be realistic, we all have bills to pay. We all sometimes need to do things that we don't want to do, So there are moments for everything, and there are projects for everything, and there are projects that you're going to love, that it's your heart and soul there. There are projects that is going to pay the bills at the end of the month, man. That's it. It's just work. It's just work. Who you are as a person is not going to be defined by that, right? So yes, some people, and again, there are also ages for everything. I think the older that you get, and even if you work in this field for years and years and years and years, you start getting to a point that you're like, I love this, but I have a life outside this, right? And work is work. My case, corporate retail, that's my work. But then I have my, artistic vision for things. I'm always with a point and shoot camera with me, like just to take snaps here and there, things that I see, things that I feel sometimes even. It's a way to let it out sometimes, just being there, just looking a tiny bit, that's it. And another thing that I do a lot is film. Everything that you see on my Instagram, and you know that, is film only, because I work in digital so much throughout my day,
I mean, analog
photography, analog photography in this case. It reduces your time, because like, that when you're shooting digital, it's like, and you're taking like a lot of photographs, and one of them is going to be outstanding. With the analog, you are kind of thinking more.
Because you pay for every frame.
Also that the analog market went up. I remember that at the time how much I was, how cheap it was back in the day, back when I was in university. And nowadays, it's like crazy how expensive it is, from analog cameras to the film, developing, scanning, etc. So of course...
You need to think when you... Just push the button. But that this point and shoot thing for me is also something from my life since I was a kid, and that's why I don't want to stop doing it, because it's still part of me. The first camera that I got when I was a kid was a Kodak camera that my mom got me, and it was literally analog, like next.
And I was always with it. We were going on vacation, I was taking it. I was going on school trips. I was with the camera. So I was doing this documentation of everything. Sometimes even from things that doesn't make any sense, but they were there still, So it's kind of documenting the world. And that's the thing. I'm fascinated about the world in general. So this documentation helps understanding the world, understanding people, and eventually doing what you need to do for your own work. Sometimes you don't need to go as deep as that, of course. But again, knowing a tiny bit of everything will help you with your pre-production process as a creative director. And even as a photographer and as a videographer, if you're selling something to the client, knowing a tiny bit of everything will help you. And even sometimes from areas that have nothing to do with it, I give you an example here that I see a lot. People sometimes when I'm in, and you know that, especially Ramadan campaigns, I'm listening to Arabic music. And sometimes we have producers that they are Arab and they are like looking at me like, how do you know this? Because I'm just fascinated. I'm going to go deep into things, the book from Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland, that Alice goes into the rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. That's me sometimes. I go too deep in the rabbit hole in certain subjects. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to use them, but I'm aware of them. Mm-hmm. And being aware will help you maybe that book that I read about this subject can help me do this. Maybe that movie or that photograph that I saw in that museum or this or that will help you with that creative process for sure, man.
And this approach is help you to work with the short project because you have some visual experience in other projects when you go deeper.
So I can give you an example, Vadim, which is when a client comes to me and asks me or tells me, I'm thinking about doing this, this, and this. In that meeting, my brain is already thinking. Because the client is talking about, let's say, spring-summer campaign, and my brain immediately starts going to all the visuals that I saw in the past from brands that did spring-summer campaigns, from friends of mine that also did, or movies, or this, or music even. I have a thing with music for me that is I cannot disconnect from music. It's the first thing that I do in the morning. Music puts me in a certain state to work. It helps you with everything. Everyone has their own drug, sorry to say the word, but everyone has their own way to try to find this. And yes, having this knowledge in visuals, the more information that you have in your brain, and not necessarily in your brain, even if you have a library at home with different things, it will help you immediately to come up, even in short projects.
Do you have some notes of your ideas or some references?
I do. I'm always with a tiny book, like a small book that if something pops up in my head, point down. I don't know.
By hand.
By hand.
Not in the
no cell phone. I have a tiny notebook, usually a tiny thing that I usually carry with me, a pen. This idea on this date, this can be used for this, and this. I always do that, man. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to cinema, especially when it comes to scripts or storyboards, yes, that's also really important. Go back to the analog, man. Nowadays we live in the world that everything is super fast, So having these small analog things from our time, kind of helps maintaining that tradition of how things were before. And I can tell you, even in university, I remember in university when I was studying architecture, back in the day, everything was made by hand, right? All the technical drawings were all made by hand. The first 2 years in university, we weren't allowed to use a computer, man. We were doing everything by hand. I remember taking 3-4 Red Bulls during the night because I had to deliver this technical drawing on the next day to the teacher. And all the people from my class were doing everything by hand with black ink, So if you mess up something, you need to start all over again, So having this analog approach on things, it's really good sometimes, man, honestly speaking. And if you can have a tiny note, okay, maybe with a cell phone will help you, you just point down and that's it. But think about when you're older, you have those notebooks that you kind of want to show to people. Oh, I did this, I did that. Da, da, da. It's a kind of a memory thing, you know. And they can even, let's say, if you think about those notebooks, what can you do in terms of the future for instance, exhibition? You can put those notebooks open, you know, and show different parts of your life that you have idea for this or for that, you know. So slow down sometimes. That's why I like analog still nowadays. Slow down a bit. Digital is helpful. Digital is good. And I know that you have one of the questions right now, which is AI. We went from light to silver with analog. We went from light to pixels with digital photography. And now we're going from pixel to pixel with AI. So slow down. Because your brain sometimes needs to reset, you know. Sometimes you need to go back to how things were before. Sometimes you have to be manual on things, you know. And AI right now is something that's definitely changing. I know that you're dying to ask me about AI. It's bringing new tools and new opportunities but sometimes stop, slow down, go back to your home country, go back to your small city or big city, it doesn't matter. Go back to where you came from, you know? Like this helps you with your entire process. When it is your work, when it's fast things, when it's a short job, yes, sometimes you're not gonna be as deep as I'm describing right now. And you can't, honestly. Also, when it comes to a freelancer, the clients don't pay enough for that. The clients want this for yesterday, you know?
As usual.
Oh, yeah. So you need to be aware of what is what, you know? But when it comes to creativity, like if that fastness of the world that we have right now, let's face it, starts being something so heavy on you that you eventually lose your interest in your work, you know, because it's like I'm done with this, you know, it's too much right now. It's just digital, AI, you know, like sometimes you need to slow down. You need to go back to what things were before and literally think, yes, I still love this. That's what I do. Because there are some times, like I've been, you know, like 15, 16 years in the industry, and I'm like, sometimes I'm fed up with everything. But at the same time, when I slow down and go back to how things were, or traveling, or this or that,
And go to hiking.
Go hiking, you know that it's hiking for me is a process. Is a process, definitely. Unfortunately, here just on winter time, because summertime is impossible. To anyone thinking about coming to Dubai, prepare yourself for summer. But yeah, always try to find things that kind of help you slow down, because it's an industry that's really fast, and it will consume you, and it will get you to the point that you're done. Like, I don't want to work with this anymore. But if it's something that you truly love, go back to things that were how things were before. Go back to that, you know, person. Go back to the Pedro, that university you used to say, I will never work in fashion. This is stupid. Clothes, why? And now I don't see anything else, you know, like I love it, you know. Even if you know that I dress always in black and white, you know, it's like literally my favorite colors, but it's still there, you know, it's still fashion. I still think about in the morning, like, even if you look at my wardrobe and everything, it's white there, but it's like, yeah, but this shirt has this, it has that, it's from this brand, it's this or that. So, you know, it's my baby at the end of the day. This is my love in a way. That's why I never got to a position that I also kind of step back in the sense I don't want to do this anymore, because I love what I do. It's just that you need to step back on the process. And with digital, you definitely need to do that. Go back to the analog. If a client has a budget, can I shoot this in Super 8? Don't put just a filter in a digital video, you know? You can, if the client wants that and doesn't have the budget. Cool. I don't judge on that. But what about having a camera that is shooting and you are literally listening to the, you know, the film, like,
Yeah.
you know, like those small sounds for me, still make me happy about it. I still get sparkles in my eyes with that. It's like, for instance, a medium format analog camera, like imagine a Hasselblad that you press the button, it's like, bah, it makes, or a Pentax 6.7 that makes that sound like, bah, like the shutters, So always go back to those things if you want to continue in the industry. It helped me, and I hope that this also kind of helps people to, especially like students that you have or viewers in this case that are sometimes struggling with certain creative process. Go back to things. Yeah.
At what level does a brand have a vacancy for
vacancy.
creative director?
I feel when a brand wants to develop more in the sense of marketing also, because let's be honest, like you have a small brand that is like for instance, you are selling clothes, let's say. You have your own brand, but you are the designer. You design the clothes. You have an idea or concept of it. But then later, imagine that you have an investment on the brand from someone, a friend, a family member, that they inject money. I remember, for instance, a brand, Nanushka. It was a brand from Budapest. Back in the day, that was like a small brand, started like a small coffee shop. They had like their own studio, like small thing. Someone that they knew injected money. Yes, you need a creative director there, man, because the brand's gonna go global.
When they need a creative director?
When they have the budget, especially, to start investing in more things in the production process.
A lot of small brands just invite some videographer, photographer, and go and shoot the lookbooks.
And you came up with the idea, etc., etc. But this is like smaller brands, man.
Yeah, and what time they need the creative director? When they want to develop some idea of this.
I kind of wrote down to you because I know that this would be one that you would ask. At the time when I wrote was when a brand or group is at a stage where brand identity, storytelling, and eye-level visual consistency is needed, is becoming essential on the brand or on the group. So you need to have a creative director to maintain that consistency, because again, like I mentioned before, every monkey in there is in the branches, right? So you cannot have the owner of a brand. Yes, a lot of owners of brands, especially independent brands, they're gonna be their creative directors. But let's face it. Let's put, for instance, Gucci or Prada. They are no longer an independent brand, bro. They are a group, They are a massive group. Prada is a massive group in Italy, So they will need a person that's specialized just in that storytelling, just in the visuals, The person that created Prada is no longer alive even, is a new stakeholder, is another person that came to invest in the company. These groups eventually, people come and go. So the same with creative directors, Gucci had different creative directors, Balenciaga, different creative directors, Just certain brands, like for instance, Rick Owens is always Rick Owens. He's the creative director of that brand. Yohji Yamamoto is the creative director of that brand. Boris Bijan Sabieri, the same creative director, because they are niche brands, they are smaller brands. Of course, they have massive teams to do the designs of the pieces, like photographers, then videographers, etc. But when it comes to bigger groups, you kind of need to, first of all, understand what is the vision of the group. And then that stakeholder or that owner of the brand will bring eventually a creative director to the game to have a team under them, a team of photographers, a team of videographers, a teams of post-production, styling, design, copy, whatever. So you will need someone there commanding the troops, let's put it like this, Yeah, commanding the army, in this case, the troops. That's basically when you need that. When you need that when you need a creative director, when you need that consistency on that visual telling. And when they are luxury brands, that's what happens, because they have the money to invest. But they also have the money to rotate people, Like a creative director stays in the brand for 5 years, decides to go to another brand. It's been happening recently, you know, like a lot of like Versace, like Donatella Versace left the brand, you know. She's still one of the stakeholders, but they have another creative director there now, you know, like they are constantly changing because the market change, the world change, you know, the mindset change, the countries change, you know, so you kind of need to be also aware of what is happening and what you can do. And of course, as a creative director, especially when it comes to fashion in this case, is your vision. Especially when it comes to brands or big groups like this, Prada, Gucci's, Versace's, Chloe, whatever. Like a creative director will bring their vision to the brand. Of course, the essence of the brand is still there. You cannot go full changing everything, you know, but it brings a tiny bit of you. You change the brand in a couple of things.
Bring new ideas.
Bring new ideas, yeah.
Were there any projects that you figure out as you worked without having experience with such filming? If we will talk about
I think
video.
the majority of creatives will tell you, no, I was already aware of this. Sorry, the word is bullshit. Because sometimes you are put in situations and let's say you are in an actual shooting. Something happened that you need to change drastically the campaign. On set, let's face it. What are you going to do? And you don't know nothing about it. What are you going to do? Man, you need to learn on the job, right? When you finish, let's say, when you finish university, I think that people have this thing with university of, I finish university, I go work somewhere, I already know everything. No, you don't. You're a baby, you know, you're a tiny lamb that's still like learning a lot. You learn on the job with any job that you do.
It's a normal process.
Yeah, and the fact that you work with teams with people that, you know, have different skills to the matter, it also trains you, you know, like it also, you see visuals. First of all, you see visuals. You see technical aspects of things, you know, like sound, light, etc. You learn with these things. I'd never studied cinema. I studied cinema in university because it was one specific course in university, but not to the point of just cinema, you know. So I'm not fully aware of technical aspects of lighting. You learn on the job. You bring a videographer, you bring a DP, you bring this, you bring that. So you start seeing things and you start learning. You shouldn't have the ego of I know everything. Of course, a lot of people will have that because it's a self-defense mechanism, you know, and you want to show especially to the client, I know this. You can still show that you know this through the visuals that you did in the past, your portfolio, for instance. You learn on the job. But of course, you cannot say to a client, yeah, I don't know this. You can't. Of course, you can't. But there are a lot of things when you have a big team that you learn on the job. Other things is experience. It's years and years of going to campaigns. I can give you an example, man. When I went to London, I didn't have a lot of experience in campaigns. What I was doing, I was asking friends to be assistants in their campaigns. I was asking people that I knew just to go to the shooting to see how a shooting is, you know. I remember a friend of mine that was a model for Nick Knight, like massive name in the industry. And I asked him, man, do you think that I can just try to go there? And he was able to get me in the shooting. I wasn't helping, I wasn't assisting or something. I was literally in the background just seeing how they work. And let's face it, how many people do you think that they have the opportunity to do that, you know? Sometimes you need to be vocal also, like, oh, can I go? Can I do this? Can I watch? You know, you cannot learn everything from YouTube, you know? YouTube is a good tool in that case, but go in there, seeing how people work, seeing what other people do is also a good thing for you to learn in that case, especially when you are starting. On the job, yes, you're going to learn, man. You work with everyone, let's face it. I have a person in my life, which is, she worked with me in Farfetch and with Pedro also, which is Viviana. She was one of the big stylists there in the team. I learned everything from styling from her. Like everything, because she was excellent on her work. And of course, later in life, I started meeting more stylists. They were teaching me more about things, how they style, how they do this, which led me to wanting to understand more about fashion, for instance. What are the brands? What how they do, how they style, how specific stylists worldwide, do that. So you learn on the job, 100%, man, 100%. But at the end of the day, you still have your set of skills, and you need to be quite aware of those skills and show to the client and show to the world and show to people that are working with you. But you should be also open to new ideas. Don't go to a shooting with a Porsche. This is my campaign. I know everything. I want everything. No. How many times you told me, Pedro, can we try this? Can you try that? Go for it, bro. I trust you. And we always have amazing results. It's teamwork. It's working as a team. A creative director cannot do everything. A videographer cannot do everything. A photographer cannot do everything. A stylist cannot do everything, right? So teamwork. Be respectful. Talk with people in a certain manner, right? Ask them, can we maybe try this or something? If the person say no, man, cool. No worries. Move on, and that's it, right? You're going to be, like you were saying, it's work. Your personal life is your personal life. That's it.
What was your most successful commercial, and what, in your opinion, make it successful? Do you have this case on your mind?
More recently, I'm having a lot of them through life in different stages, but more recently, honestly speaking, I will say the Ramadan campaign that we did recently for Home Center. Also because of the amazing marketing work that was around it. And the marketing team from Home Center, it's extremely good. I know that's not fashion, it's homeware in this case, but the outcome with it was massive. We were everywhere in Dubai, everywhere. So that has to be one of the most recent ones in that case, because it's good to see your work in some of the biggest billboards in town, even digital billboards, like for instance in City Walk, that they have the digital billboards, and it's really nice to see our own videos, for instance, from our team being shown on massive billboards, for everyone. And in this case, because the place where we shoot the campaign, which was in Liwa, where Dune was shot also, is Abu Dhabi. It's desert. It's gorgeous. At night, you literally see just stars. There is no light pollution in it, so everything is clean around you. The sunset, like the sun on the desert, etc. We got massive, massive shots and really beautiful shots of things like that they weren't even on script at the time, because we were just sitting down, and I told our videographer Tom Joseph, you met him before also, he was like, Tom, start shooting time lapse on the sunset, and the time lapse ended up in the video. And it was in the digital billboard, So, this type of small things sometimes make the difference in the production. And this has to be one of the biggest campaigns that I'm kind of proud in a way, With fashion, the Christopher Kane one with Pedro was one of them. Leon Barra, also Mara Fridi, they were really good. While I was in Germany, I worked for My Theresa. We had really, really good campaigns for the group. And because My Theresa is a boutique, started as a boutique, and they have also the retail e-commerce part, a lot of the brands use our own images. So it was good to see our work in websites or social media of the brands. I remember Vatmans used it, Balenciaga used it. We did something for Victoria Beckham at the time. I was working with Rose Langenbein. It was one of my favorite directors and managers at the time. Shout out to Rose. I love her. Was another person that when it comes to creative process, she was outstanding. It was from music, from art, from cinema, from this, from that. Everything was there, the creative process was extraordinary there. And of course, the brands love this, especially a luxury brand. My Theresa only sells luxury. So the process itself was amazing working with Rose because of that. I remember before I started working with her, she sent me like a small homework, like how will you do this campaign? And I went to references of music and this and that, and she loved it because it was how her brain also worked. And we always worked really well because of that, because it's having creatives that have this process and they put things on the table and they work as a team is really good. And in my Teresa, I had the chance to work with really big brands. Farfetch, the same. Brown's Fashion, the same. They were all, luxury brands, and a lot of them used our work on their own websites and social media. So seeing your work there it's not that I look at the quantity of likes of other people like, oh, this is a good shot, but feels good. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. So yeah, a lot of things happen. And recently here, more because it's more local, was this one and another campaign that we did. I think at the time I showed you for Centerpoint, autumn, winter, that we shot in a region, Hazalheima. I don't know if you remember the one with the horse, like in the middle of the mountains, etc. Remember? That was a really beautiful production for me. With the fact that the entire concept came from my brain, but then I had an outstanding team working on this, and the producer also, etc. It was literally those specific campaigns. Oh, we're shooting this shot at like 5 a.m. when the sun is coming up. We have a horse coming, so the campaign looked quite cinematic, and was really, really beautiful. I have to say that here in this region, since I moved here 4 years ago, those are the two biggest campaigns. Also because, let's be honest, it's campaigns that actually have budgets to invest in a lot of things, and budget definitely is one of the most important things in these campaigns, honestly speaking.
Yeah, it's true. What about AI? And I believe that AI allow us to skip the stage of just a videographer or start moving toward the creative director.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
100%. Like I mentioned before, with AI, photographers, stylists, videographers,
Makeup
designers,
artists,
makeup artists,
a lot of people.
a lot of fields, you can be your own creative director. You have your own vision that you can literally generate by yourself. Of course, you need to know how the tools work, and I think that's what people nowadays are investing more, is how specific tools work and how you can generate something that's your vision. I sent you recently one from Adidas that I created myself. Everything was AI, and when I showed this in our group, everyone was like, what? Like, this looks awesome, because also it wasn't just a matter of developing AI, which our group now is developing a lot, is also because we're trying to bring something new to the table, which is brand development in partnership with other brands. Let's face it, Centerpoint sells Adidas, Why not do a partnership with Adidas, Because Adidas is quite big here in the Middle East. But at the same time, working with a retailer that been in the region for 52 years, man, it's a really big thing that with AI, imagination, your limits are your imagination, And for me, it was literally starting from a concept or like something that popped up in my brain. Okay, let's chat GPT the hell out of this, like hours and hours and hours and hours on chat GPT regarding that specific subject, going extremely deep into things. And then from there, prompting, photography, generating a photograph, and then from a photograph, generating video. And you have the result that I showed you. Yes, there are still a lot of technical issues with AI, AI develops every single week, every single day sometimes, but your limit is your imagination, You showed me other AI things before also, and they look amazing. Why? Something that's coming from here. What is in your brain now can come to life because the budget on this is extremely low, you know? And yes, I know a lot of brands are not going to use AI. They don't want to use it. They still want that human side, productions, etc., etc. But for instance, for niche brands or for small brands, it's a good opportunity for them to develop their brands even more if they find someone specialized in AI that can develop their brand. Because again, you can do everything right now with it, right? Like I come from a concept, spend hours chatting with ChatGPT, train your AI, by the way, has been quite helpful of training your AI, even if it's ChatGPT. Give it a name to ChatGPT, because all the conversations and all the updates that they do in a weekly basis, it will understand how you work. You know, it will understand how your brain works more and more. So it will go deep into things that sometimes you don't even know. But for instance, this Adidas one was one of those examples. My main focus one was Gen Z in GCC area, maintaining the old, so going back to the analog, to literally this new generation, you know? So getting that together, yes, ChatGPT helped me a lot with traditional things like traditional patterns, how are they made, how like colors, this, and that. And then mixing it to the new generation, you know, to which is something that I love here in this region, is this mix between the old and the new. And you know that Dubai is constantly like developing things, you know, AI is a massive thing here right now, but the tradition is still here. You still see traditional dancing, you still see traditional clothing, food, etc., etc., etc. And bringing that to a new generation through AI can be quite helpful for people also to be more aware to what is happening in this region, what is the culture of this region, you know, not only the UAE, but other countries around, Oman, Saudi, you know, Qatar, etc., you know. So it helps you investigating more. I think ChatGPT is a quite good thing in terms of investigating what you want to bring to the table, you know, because it will literally help you with everything. And train your AI, and it will help you a lot in the next process, you know, of concept, prompt, from prompt to a visual, so a photography, to a photograph, and then go into video in this case. And also being smart which tools you are using for AI. What are you looking for? You know, if you're shooting, for instance, fashion, right now one of the tools that's being amazing developed is Chimera, for instance. I don't know if you ever used it before, but Chimera was developed by Kirti, and was from this idea of going further and beyond when you don't have the budget for it. And they have a massive team. They are constantly training the brain there, and you see their images and they were like, whoa, you know. And now they are developing more video. The entire video that I showed you, Chimera. So it went from ChatGPT to Runway to generate image, from Runway to Kling, and then from Kling to Chimera. So you need to work a tiny bit here and there. And yes, of course, when you generate an image that, for instance, the logo is not correct, you need still to Photoshop that image, and then from that image generate the video, etc. It's time, but definitely make things way easier. I'm quite aware that a lot of people are looking at AI as the boogeyman, you know, like the monster that's gonna, get everyone fired from their jobs and profession. Maybe, but be open to it. Because if you train your brain and you train the AI brain, you're not gonna get fired in that sense. You're gonna have an amazing tool to bring you to the next step. you know? And again, we went from analog to digital, and at the time everyone was like, oh no, now everyone can be a photographer. Remember that everyone was saying that? And then now from digital, you have another tool. You have from pixel to pixel now. It's something that even reduces the quantity of images that you generate, I feel, because you can be quite specific on things. You know, imagine when you're shooting a campaign that you take 300, 400 shots, you know. With AI, yes, you can still do that, but you have other factors there. You have programs that they have a credit-based system, so you need to be smart about that, you know. You cannot generate 1,000 images because you're gonna pay $1,000, dollars for it, you know. So you literally need to be smart how you are prompting stuff, like, oh, I want the model, how I want the clothes, how I want this movement, how I want this, how I want that. So it feels for me like going back to the analog, that you are thinking more about how you're gonna shoot, what you're gonna shoot, you know, like even with AI right now, man, if you think about it, you can put the type of camera that you want on the shot, right? The type of film, the type of this, the type of that. So in a way, it goes back to the analog because it makes you think more about what you want to generate. You don't need to generate 1,000 images for a client anymore.
Yeah, you need to think about technical requirements.
Yes. More and more.
Deeply.
More and more. And our team right now, man, is like, it was a scary thing, like maybe 1 month and a half, 2 months ago, that will literally was like put on the table, like, guys, you need like adapt or die, you know, like we need to train this. Was scary, not gonna lie to you. You kind of, okay, adapt or die, you need to learn how to do this. Let's learn it. Why not? And then you start seeing the possibilities that you have around it and see the results that you have. For instance, the video that I sent you, you know, from Adidas. Man, it was like, I wasn't expecting to be that good, to be honest. I mean, I'm not bragging. I don't want to brag. But at the same time, I wasn't expecting that from someone that didn't knew the process of it 1 or 2 months ago to having a final that looks interesting. And I know a lot of people will be like, I'm not sure, it's still quite artificial, etc. True, but your vision is there. The way that the shot, you know, like how you wanted the shot or the type of model or this or that is there, man. And you can control that now. There is not that situation of, man, I cannot bring this model to Dubai to shoot because it's really expensive, or this photographer or that videographer, you know. It's quite helpful in that sense because you can be more descriptive about everything. And you have the result at the end and you're like, nice, I did something cool, you know. And has the possibility of expanding more your market. That's, I think, the most important thing. Because you can go not only from fashion, you can go to home decor, you can go to architecture, you can go to this, you can events, etc., etc. I think with AI, especially if you mix AI with VR in the future, man, the possibilities are gonna be mental. You know, is literally like going back to the game A Second Life. You know, there is a movie that I find it really interesting, which is the Player One. You know, that like the VR that you can generate your own avatar, etc., etc. You literally can be whoever you want to be without any rules that society kind of puts you. You know, and yes, we are all misfits and rebels in that sense as creatives. You know, we kind of are okay with the formality that society sometimes have. Of course, in certain countries, in certain rules, in certain religions or whatever, we need to maintain certain things. But your brain is your brain. No one is going to control that, right? Your heart is your heart. No one is going to control that also, you know? So you can be now with AI whoever you want to be in that sense, you know? And you can explore. That's it. You can explore. If I'm going to miss being in campaigns, yes, most probably, man. If I'm going to miss being in campaigns in summertime in Dubai with 46 degrees, no, I won't. AI all the way. Yeah.
I think that AI tools is the perfect tools for creative director, because I think in AI it's the main things it's idea and meaning of the video, of the photo.
Yeah. Concept for sure.
Concept. Yeah. What do you think about this? Because day after day, so many people can understand these tools and they can just push the button and generate some visuals in a perfect quality. But idea and concept.
You still need the visuals behind Vadim. I think the other day I was having this discussion with Pedro. With Pedro
because simple videography or photography, it's like a tools.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And these tools become an artificial intelligence. Yeah. And higher level is creative director, who develop the ideas. Yeah. And it's a perfect tool for
100%. 100%. Because everything that's on your brain that you want to explore, you have easy access immediately there, right? So you go into the rabbit hole, like I mentioned before, because you can investigate more and more and more and more and more to the point that you can even go into other fields. You have an idea, let's say ChatGPT. ChatGPT, can you create a marketing campaign for this? Can you create this? Can you create that? Even if they are not finals, and you're still going to need the human factor from designers, from this, from that, you know, even a videographer, even if I'm not shooting in a location, I still need a videographer to generate videos there, you know, as a creative director. And if you have the possibility to you generate it, yes, of course, the companies would be like, oh, less money, right? But that's not the goal there, you know. I don't think that a creative director will be able to do everything, you know. You will still need a photographer, you still need a videographer, you still need a stylist. Everyone is prompting. That's it. That's the only thing. You went from something manual to prompt. Your prompt, your camera is a prompt now. Your styling is a prompt now. Your whatever. Everything is just turning into prompts now. And that's how you generate amazing images. But it's not just one person. It's a full team. It's still a full team. Yes, you don't need to pay models now, which that's another subject, which causes problems for models. But a lot of models, for instance, are already creating their own avatars. They already created their own copies, you know, and you pay a percentage for that copy. Cool, fair enough. That's the same as a designer that creates a font that they can sell the font to people, you know, the font. Now, basically, you don't need licenses to shoot anywhere, right? You can shoot wherever, whenever, and wherever, right?
It's a very important question in UAE.
Yeah. And you know how things are here because of the rules in terms of media, you know, like you need license for this, you need license for that, you need police to be there, etc. Fair enough. Other countries are exactly the same. It doesn't affect me. But this comes with costs, you know. If you're going to a location, shooting, and you need a massive team, you need a production house, you need generators, you need this, you need that, you need food. See the amount of money and waste of food that you have in a campaign, man, right? An example, you know, if we go in now thinking about like going green in this conversation, think about the quantity of food that goes to waste in a campaign, you know, because you need food for people there. You're going to be 12 hours there. You need breakfast, lunch, sometimes dinner even. But with AI, all of these things, they kind of disappear, you know. Maybe I will miss also the human factor, like this, you know, vibe that we were talking about of working together. But maybe in the future, there will be certain things that will be generated that you will still maintain this connection with people, you know. We don't know. This is all new for us, you know. I started like using ChatGPT 1 year ago, you know, like kind of asking a couple of questions here and there, to the point now that my car had an issue the other day. Videos and photos on ChatGPT. This, and this, and this is happening. What do you think that it is? gave me a list of possibilities, call a mechanic, this, and this. Yeah, that's exactly that. That's it. It's just that helps the information. Of course, there are things, man, that I'm not gonna... ChatGPT, my arm is hurting, what's happening here, and then you go to the doctor. According to ChatGPT, on the doctor face, no. Like, let's be normal for, I think some people are taking it to the extreme, not gonna lie to you. So we also need to be smart on that, for sure, man.
And maybe some of the last questions. If you were a freelancer and went into AI as a creative director, what step would you take? What content would... I understand about content is fashion. And what companies would you work with? Maybe fashion, right?
So the same way that you create your own portfolio back in the day, that you ask for a friend, hey, can I do a couple of shots for your brand or this and that? That's going to be the same with AI, man, I feel. I think it's going to be a pitch situation kind of thing, that you have someone generating a pitch for a brand, and your portfolio is going to be around that, that you're going to propose a pitch to the brands itself. Like, of course, you can generate portfolios like photographs or videos or this or that, but at the same time, you need to have already weapons, for possible clients. Like, how can we generate this? How can we generate that? So, I'm going to do this like this, like this, like this, like this. So having already this kind of prompts ready, this is an amazing thing. You can have almost like a database. So the same way that I was telling you before of having the tiny notebook and you're like writing down, you can have a digital database of prompts, for instance. Even if they are not visuals, they are just written. But you can have this for the clients, and that's how you kind of need to start working as a freelancer, having prompts and pitches for clients. Even if the brand is different, even if the visuals for the brand are different, the vision of it. By having those prompts in almost a digital archive, you can get to the prompt. Instead of having this type of model, we can exchange to this model, the clothes, the location, etc. So you kind of have already to start generating that. Our team is doing that now. Post-production is having this, for instance, which is outstanding. Like, they, especially when it comes to e-commerce, they know that a certain brand wants these follow-ups in terms of how the model can look, how the location can look, etc. And having all those prompts ready in archive, new piece come in, prompt, library completely, yeah.
It's a concept of the brand vision.
Regarding which brands I would like to work with, man, honestly speaking, whoever wants to invest in AI in this case, because I don't feel that every single brand in the world will accept that, because I'm gonna be honest, and I can be wrong with this, but when it comes, for instance, like a luxury brand, let's say, me as a client, but this is a solo idea, this is just me, right? Me as a person, I need to look at something and make it feel real, to have a soul to it. Again, going back to the, can I be this person? I don't think that AI right now is still there in that particular note, we did a Ramadan campaign recently with Centerpoint that was like people in the middle of a lake, like that they were with the clothes and then the water, etc. If I would look at that and think, can I be this Disney princess that is using this dress in the middle of the water in the lake? Doesn't come up to the real life. You need to be also a bit smart until where you can use AI, especially when it comes to commercial work, because commercial work still needs to sell a product. If you're doing your own personal work, for instance, the video that you sent me, like on the desert thing, like it's something more artistic, it's more artsy there. If it's something more commercial, I cannot have the same visuals. So again, adaptation. You need to adapt the AI to the brands that you are shooting also. So it's a process, it's a process. that I think that people are still learning how to bring to the table, because this will reduce cost in everything. Let's be honest. It will. That's the reality of things. I don't want to think about even the fact that it will remove jobs. Okay, it will remove jobs, but then start learning it. Start using this tool the same way that you stop using analog, right? Back in the day.
I guess it's new position.
I don't think it's a new position, Vadim. It's a different tool. Because like you were mentioning, like creative director still is coming up with a concept, right? Of course, everyone can come up with concepts. The problem is the execution. That's why I'm saying you need everyone in each hierarchy in that case. Because imagine that you have a videographer that's fully specialized in AI. The concept from the creative director is going to be done by the videographer, and the videographer will do an amazing job. I don't think that the creative director in that case will have enough tools, can know the basics. And for instance, the video that I sent you, I feel for me, it's the basics. There is still a lot that you can explore there. There's still improvements to do, camera movements, etc., etc. And I think the old positions of the videographer or DP or this or that will still be important for these things. Maybe lesser, but they are still needed, honestly.
Yeah, agree. And the last question, Pedro.
That was the last question. That's going to be a long, when I start talking, you know the drill.
What advice would you give of my students who just want to start working with video and with visuals?
Get out of the house. That's it, man. Like, listen, even if it's like a DJI, like a Pocket or something, man, film. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's like a commercial, if it's a fashion campaign, if it's your own diary. It doesn't matter. Like, just go out there, experiment. Especially, I think that's like the best thing for someone that is starting. Experiment. Don't try to be someone else. Be you, right? Get influence from other people, because let's be honest, nothing comes up from here from nothing. This is not like the Big Bang Theory, you know, but experiment. Go to exhibitions. Talk with people in social media. Go out there. Pick up your car. Go to another city. See other things. You know that I do that a lot. Like, I'm quite a person that explores a lot. Yes, Dubai is Dubai. Dubai is work. But the UAE here is extremely beautiful. You have other cities besides Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Sharjah. Yes, Sharjah is confusion. But have you been to the galleries and museums there? They are some of the best in the world. The collections that they have are outstanding. So inspire yourself. Go to a place where they don't even speak your language. I remember some years ago, I don't know, remember Anthony Bourdain, the cooker that had a show that used to go around the world, try different foods, etc., etc. It's a guy, he unfortunately passed away some years ago, but he was a guy that go to a place where they don't even speak English. And you will be put in a situation like, what about now? What do I do? Try the food. Go, I know that sometimes it's bad, but pick up your cell phone and like location, the food or this or that. I remember, for instance, some family members that they've been to Russia, 80s, 90s. English wasn't there like it is nowadays, right? Like people have an easier adaptation to things now. Like, I remember an uncle of mine that went there and he was lost in the metros. And you guys have some of the most beautiful metros in the world, subways, you know, like, but everything was in Russian, you know, and you couldn't understand anything. So you would always had to have someone with you translating, you know. So, but at the same time, that makes you like develop, because you're like, you need to, sorry the expression, unshit a situation, right? Because you're put in a situation, what about now? What I'm going to do, you know? So go out there. Don't be scared of making mistakes also. Don't be scared of making mistakes, because people are always I think that's what usually people are scared of, like, oh, I'm not going to do this because I'm scared of failing. And
what will think around
what other people think. Don't think of what other people think. Do it for yourself. If you see an image of mine on Instagram, you know, and it was like, why did he photograph this? Doesn't matter, bro. It's something that you felt at the time. It's something that you enjoyed it. Do it. Press a button. Film it. Take a photograph. It doesn't matter. Like with video, especially, be diaristic about it. Do a diary with it. Shoot yourself for 2 seconds every day for 1 year. You know, like see the evolution, you know, like, so experiment. That's the thing. Experiment and be open to things, you know. Speak with people. Do a small video with the lady that, again, sells the fruits next to your house. Try to understand her. Try to know what happened with her life. What was her life, you know. From there, go to someone else and do that, you know. Again, it depends really on the work that you want to follow, you know. But never, for even if you do more commercial work, because, again, we need to pay bills, always go to the human side of things, of understanding the world, you know. Of understanding people. I fortunately have the chance of having family in different countries in the world. For instance, my sister lives in Angola, in Africa. So when I go to Angola, it's a cultural shock, man. You know, everything is different, you know, like the food is different. I love the food there. It's outstanding, you know, like, but the people are different. The music is different. The customs are different. The clothes are different. But you absorb that, you know, it's visuals. And especially when it comes to Russia, for instance. Russia is one of the biggest countries in Europe, you know. You have different cities or different areas that they have different mindsets, different customs, different types of clothing, etc. I grew up in Portugal, like you know, and my hometown is really connected with folklore. So our Portuguese folklore. But there was an event that still happens nowadays of world folklore. So people from other countries would come to that event and they were showing their dances, their clothes, their food, etc., etc. And I was happy to be part of that because I had a family member from my mom's side that he used to be part of a folklore group, my uncle Ne. And so, and it's funny that his son, Andre, my cousin Andre, later continue with that because folklore is your core as a culture, right? So from dancing, from clothes, from traditions, from food, etc., etc. So having this opportunity growing up in Portugal of getting people from different countries, European or not European, kind of open your, you know, I think the majority of us in society are quite driven to what our life is. We're quite close to a lot of things here, you know, like we're always like this. And we need to kind of open a bit to what the world is, you know. Yes, Russia is big, but the world is even bigger, right? So even if you come from a big country or a small country, explore. Talk with people, talk with other cultures, talk with other mindsets. Maybe you're not going to understand it, maybe you're not going to like it, but at least it's a visual, at least it's a new idea, at least it's another concept. And if you're respectful for it, this will help you through your life in different situations and different clients. Imagine you're a student in Russia, but maybe you need to work with a student in Mexico or a client in Mexico in this case. How much do you know about Mexican culture, you know? How much, you know, like the food, the language, etc. Of course, we don't need to be people that know 10, 15 languages in the world, you know? But there are some people that they know. But having small things like I used to mess with you also with you know, da, nieto, things like this, man, it's a connection. Because you know that I know about your culture, regardless of being a lot or little, but knows about history, knows about, you know, different situations that happen in your country, you know, like Lenin, Stalin, etc., etc., all of these things, you know, like going deep to this. But I'm a curious person, you know. So regardless of liking it or not, or enjoying it or not, things from certain cultures, investigate them. Go for it. Look for them, meet people, and explore the world. That's the best thing that I got from my parents, both of them. My dad especially, because my dad back in the 50s lived in Africa. So immediately got that cultural shock of adaptation, you know. So you need to kind of adapt to the area that you are, but sometimes you are put in situations that, you know, you coming here, you need to adapt to a lot of things here, right? So at the same time, you need to be open to things. Maybe you will not understand them, but at least you are aware of them, and you will be respectful for other person culture, because at least you will be able to work with them, you know, and play with them, joke with them. I continue to say that the best thing is humor, and if you can get to a point with someone as a client or someone that's working with you that knows about your culture, and you guys can make fun of each other about the culture. Like, for instance, I don't know if you know Trevor Noah, the comedian, that he says that Russian is one of the scariest languages in the world because of the accent. That you can be saying the most cute thing that's still going to sound menacing, you know? But it's not that it's not a beautiful language. It's just that you can play with it. One of my best friends, Mahmoud from Oman, here a country next to the UAE, is Omani. I'm Portuguese. Portugal and Oman used to have a lot of beef from history from back end of the day, you know? And we still play with each other about these things, you know, like here comes the Portuguese trying to steal this gold, etc., etc. But this is our humor, you know, and not everyone's gonna understand that humor, and not everyone is gonna take that lightly. The more you know someone and the more you know their culture, and vice versa, you will feel more comfortable with it. And you, even if you make jokes between, you are still gonna be respectful for it. So explore the world. That's the best thing that I can tell to your students, honestly speaking, man. Explore it.
Thank you for this advice, and thank you for this interview.
Yeah, me too, man. Thank you so much for
amazing.
the opportunity. Yeah, thank you so much, man.